Hello and welcome back. Today, we're taking a close look at Utkarsh Small Finance Bank Limited. They've just released their numbers for the fourth quarter and the full financial year ending March 31st, 2025.
That's right. Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, headquartered out of Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, focuses on providing banking and financial services, particularly to the underserved and unserved segments, especially in rural and semi-urban areas. They converted from an NBFC and started SFB operations back in January 2017, and they had their IPO relatively recently in July 2023. So still a fairly young bank in the listed space.
Exactly. So the results we're discussing today are the audited financial results approved by their board on May 3, 2025. We'll be looking primarily at the bank's standalone performance for Q4 and the full financial year 2025. Ready to dive into the numbers?
Absolutely. Let's start with the income statement, looking at the key metrics.
Okay, first up, interest earned, which is akin to their top line revenue for a bank. How did that look for Q4 year over year and quarter over quarter?
Alright. For the fourth quarter ended March 31st, 2025, the interest earned was 879.62 crore rupees. Comparing that year over year to Q4 of FY24, where it was 895.62 crore rupees, that's actually a slight decrease of about 2%. Now looking at it quarter over quarter, compared to Q3 FY25, ending December 31st, 2024, where interest earned was 932.43 crore rupees, it's down by about 6% sequentially.
A dip both year over year and quarter over quarter for Q4 interest earned. What about the full financial year 2025 compared to 2024?
For the full financial year 2025, interest earned stood at 3,764.93 crore rupees. This is up 18% compared to the 3,178.41 crore rupees earned in FY24. So while Q4 showed a decline, the full year saw healthy growth.
Interesting divergence there. Okay, let's move to operating profit. How did the pre-provision operating profit or PPOP perform? Let's get the year over year and quarter over quarter for Q4 first.
The PPOP for Q4 FY25 came in at 233.98 crore rupees. Year over year, comparing this to 282.22 crore rupees in Q4 FY24, that's a decrease of 17%. Sequentially, quarter over quarter, compared to Q3 FY25's PPOP of 185.26 crore rupees, it shows a strong increase of 26%.
A drop year over year, but a good jump quarter over quarter for PPOP in Q4. And the full year picture for PPOP?
For the full financial year 2025, the PPOP was 1,007 crore rupees, approximately 1,006.93 crore rupees. This is up just 1% compared to the 997.27 crore rupees in FY24. So a very marginal increase for the full year despite that strong sequential jump in Q4.
Got it. Now let's look below the PPOP line after provisions. What about profit before tax or PBT? Q4 comparisons first, year over year and quarter over quarter.
Profit before tax for Q4 FY25 was quite low at 11.28 crore rupees. Year over year, this is a sharp decline of 95% from the 208.35 crore rupees in Q4 FY24. Quarter over quarter, it's also a significant turnaround, as Q3 FY25 reported a loss before tax of 237.94 crore rupees. So sequentially, they've moved from a loss to a small profit.
A massive drop year over year for Q4 PBT, but a positive swing from the loss in Q3. And for the full year FY25 versus FY24?
For the full year FY25, PBT was 27.65 crore rupees. Comparing this to FY24's PBT of 659.39 crore rupees, that's a huge drop of 96% year over year. This really highlights the impact of provisions during the year.
Wow, that's a dramatic fall in PBT for the full year. Naturally, this leads us to the bottom line, profit after tax or PAT. How did that fare in Q4, year over year and quarter over quarter?
The net profit after tax for Q4 FY25 was just 2.97 crore rupees. That's down 98% year over year compared to 159.66 crore rupees in Q4 FY24. Sequentially similar to PBT, it's a positive swing from the net loss of 168.05 crore rupees reported in Q3 FY25.
98% down year over year, but again, an improvement from the previous quarter's loss. And the final PAT figure for the full year FY25 versus FY24?
For the full financial year 2025, the profit after tax was 23.70 crore rupees. This is a massive 95% decrease compared to the 497.63 crore rupees they achieved in FY24.
So the story is consistent. Top-line growth for the year, but a dramatic fall in profitability due to significantly higher provisions. What about earnings per share (EPS)?
Sure. For Q4 FY25, the basic EPS was 0.03 rupees, down significantly from 1.45 rupees in Q4 FY24. Sequentially, it improved from a negative EPS of 1.53 rupees in Q3 FY25. For the full year FY25, the basic EPS was 0.22 rupees, a steep drop from 4.79 rupees in FY24.
Did other income play a significant role this quarter or year?
Yes, other income was quite substantial. In Q4 FY25, it stood at 287.11 crore rupees. This is up a huge 138% year over year from 120.68 crore rupees in Q4 FY24. Sequentially, it jumped 172% from 105.49 crore rupees in Q3 FY25. For the full year FY25, other income was 599.83 crore rupees, up 50% from 400.34 crore rupees in FY24. This increase is partly attributed to a change in accounting policy for loan processing fees, which we should discuss later.
Right, that accounting change seems key. Looking at profitability margins then, given the PAT numbers, they must have taken a big hit?
Absolutely. While the PPOP margin held up somewhat for the year, PPOP as a percentage of total income, the net profit margin crashed due to the high provisions. For FY25, the net profit margin was extremely low, around 0.63%, 23.70 crore PAT divided by 3,764.93 crore interest earned, plus 599.83 crore other income. This compares very unfavorably to FY24's margin, which was closer to 13.8%.
Any exceptional items reported that we need to be aware of?
No, there were no items classified as exceptional in the results, meaning the profits or lack thereof reflect operating performance and provisioning levels rather than one-off events.
Okay, let's shift to the balance sheet. What are the key highlights there as of March 31st, 2025, comparing year over year and sequentially?
As of March 31st, 2025, total deposits stood at 21,566 crore rupees. That's a healthy growth of 23% year over year, compared to 17,473 crore rupees in March 2024, and up 7% sequentially from 20,172 crore rupees in December 2024. Within deposits, CASA deposits grew 31% year over year to 4,699 crore rupees, and retail term deposits grew 34% year over year to 10,635 crore rupees. The CASA ratio improved slightly to 21.8% from 20.5% a year ago.
Strong growth in deposits, especially retail. How about the loan book or advances?
Gross advances reached 19,666 crore rupees as of March 2025. This represents a 7.5% growth year over year from 18,299 crore rupees in March 2024 and a 3.2% sequential growth from 19,057 crore rupees in December 2024. Notably, the non-JLG joint liability group loan portfolio grew strongly by 45% year over year, while the JLG portfolio actually declined by 17% year over year. The share of secured loans increased to 43% from 34% a year ago.
So a clear strategic shift towards non-JLG and secured lending, but overall loan growth is more modest compared to deposit growth. This reflects in the CD ratio improvement?
Exactly. The credit deposit ratio improved to 86.8% as of March 2025, down from 93.7% a year ago, indicating a better balance between loans and deposits.
What about asset quality? Those high provisions must point to stress here.
Yes, asset quality deteriorated significantly. Gross non-performing assets (NPAs) jumped to 9.43% of gross advances as of March 2025. This is a sharp increase from 2.51% in March 2024 and 6.17% in December 2024. Net NPAs also rose sharply to 4.84%, compared to just 0.03% in March 2024 and 2.50% in December 2024. This spike in NPAs explains the huge increase in provisions we saw impacting the P&L.
That's a major concern. And capital adequacy?
The capital adequacy ratio, CRAR, remained comfortable at 20.93% as of March 2025, although it decreased from 22.57% in March 2024. Tier 1 capital was at 17.88%. This is well above the regulatory requirement.
Okay, let's briefly touch upon the cash flow statement provided for the full year. Any major takeaways?
The bank generated positive cash flow from operating activities of 875.58 crore rupees for FY25, down slightly from 991.23 crore rupees in FY24. Investing activities saw a net outflow of 776.88 crore rupees, mainly due to the purchase of investments. Financing activities generated a net inflow of 310.45 crore rupees, largely driven by borrowings taken, partially offset by repayments, and factoring in share issue proceeds from the previous year's IPO, adjusted for expenses. Overall, cash and cash equivalents increased during the year. No dividends were mentioned.
How did the different business segments perform? The press release mentioned strong non-JLG growth. Does the segment data back this up?
Yes, the segment results reflect this shift. For the full year FY25, the retail banking segment reported revenue of 3,660.79 crore rupees and a segment result, profit before tax and interest, showing a loss of 59.42 crore rupees, a huge swing from the profit of 648.10 crore rupees in FY24. This is likely where the JLG stress and provisioning hit hardest. The wholesale banking segment showed revenue of 266.34 crore rupees and a segment profit of 18.97 crore rupees, up from a loss of 51.11 crore rupees last year. Treasury operations contributed 437.63 crore rupees in revenue and 68.09 crore rupees in profit, up from 62.40 crore rupees profit last year. In terms of assets, retail banking still dominates, but its profitability was severely impacted in FY25.
So retail banking, likely due to the MFI JLG part, dragged down the overall profitability significantly despite growth in wholesale and treasury. Let's tie this back to the management commentary and significant notes. What else stood out?
Management highlighted the difficult operating environment for JLG loans following the implementation of RBI's guardrail norms, restricting credit supply and shifting focus to collections. They believe stress in the JLG segment has peaked and see improvements towards the end of FY25. They emphasized the 45% growth in the non-JLG portfolio and the increasing share of secured loans, housing MSME. They also mentioned opening over 200 new branches, taking the total past 1,000.
And that crucial accounting policy change for loan processing fees?
Yes, Note 18 details this. Effective April 1, 2024, the bank changed its policy to recognize loan processing fees and related expenses as income expense when they become due, rather than amortizing them over the loan tenure. This aligns with industry practice but significantly boosted other income and other operating expenses in Q4 FY25 and the full year 25 compared to how they would have been reported under the old policy. The note quantifies the impact. In Q4 FY25, this change added about 16.5 crore rupees to other income and 7 crore rupees to other operating expenses, resulting in a net pre-tax profit increase of about 9.5 crore rupees for the quarter due to the change. For the full year FY25, if they had followed this new policy in FY24 as well, the impact would have been an increase of about 116 crore rupees in PBT for FY24. So it's a significant change impacting comparability.
That's a very important clarification for comparing results. What about provisions and NPAs? Anything else from the notes?
Note 12 confirms the bank fully utilized its floating provisions of about 148 crore rupees during the year and 190 crore rupees in Q4 alone to offset the required NPA provisions following RBI approval. This helped cushion the P&L impact slightly, but the underlying provisioning requirement was clearly very high due to the NPA surge. Note 17 also details the transfer of stressed loans, including a significant chunk of previously written-off accounts to an asset reconstruction company, ARC, during the year for a consideration involving security receipts. This is part of their cleanup effort.
Any other significant events or notes? New auditors? Amalgamation?
Yes, the board approved the appointment of Empire SMM Nissim and Company, LLP, and Empire SKKC, and Associates LLP as new joint statutory auditors for 3 years, subject to RBI approval, replacing the outgoing auditors. Also, Note 15 mentions the ongoing process for the proposed amalgamation of the promoter entity, Utkarsh Core Invest Limited, with the bank. They've received RBI's no objection and are proceeding with NCLT approvals.
Okay, now for a critical part, the auditor's report. What did the joint auditors, Deloitte Haskins and Sells and Ketan and Pandit LLP say? Any qualifications or red flags?
The auditors issued an unmodified opinion on the annual financial results for the year ended March 31, 2025. This means they believe the annual financial statements give a true and fair view in accordance with accounting standards and regulations. For the quarterly results ended March 31, 2025, they provided a standard review conclusion, stating nothing came to their attention, causing them to believe the quarterly results were materially misstated. They included another matter paragraph explaining that the Q4 figures are balancing figures between the audited full-year results and the published 9-month figures. So, essentially, it's a clean report from the auditors for both the quarter and the full year.
That's positive news amidst the NPA concerns, a clean auditor's report. So considering everything, the sharp drop in profit, the rising NPAs but also the strong deposit growth, the strategic shift, management commentary, and the clean audit report, what's the overall outlook?
It's definitely a mixed picture. Disclaimer: as always, investors should consult certified financial advisors before making investment decisions. Utkarsh Small Finance Bank faced a very challenging FY25, primarily due to the significant stress in its legacy JLG portfolio, leading to a sharp spike in NPAs and massive provisioning, which decimated the bottom line despite modest PPOP growth. The accounting policy change also inflated other income, masking some underlying trends. However, there are positives. Deposit growth is robust. The shift towards secured and non-JLG loans seems to be progressing well. 45% non-JLG growth, the CASA ratio is improving, capital adequacy remains comfortable, and the auditors have given a clean opinion. Management believes JLG stress has peaked. The outlook hinges heavily on their ability to control credit costs, manage the NPA situation effectively, and successfully grow the non-JLG book profitably. The potential amalgamation also adds another layer to watch. Key risks remain the high NPA levels, the recovery trajectory in the MFI segment, and execution risk in their strategic pivot.
So a year of consolidation and cleanup, particularly in the JLG book, leading to a big hit on profits, but underlying deposit franchise and non-JLG growth offers some hope for the future, provided they can manage the asset quality challenge.
Precisely. FY25 was clearly impacted by legacy issues and regulatory changes in the MFI space. The high NPAs are the major overhang. While the bank seems to be taking corrective actions like AR sales and shifting focus, the recovery path will be key. Investors will be closely watching the NPA trajectory and provisioning levels in the coming quarters to see if the management's view that stress has peaked holds true. The strong deposit franchise and the clean audit report are definite positives though.
A complex quarter and year indeed for Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. Thanks for breaking it down for us.
My pleasure. Always interesting to see the dynamics within the small finance bank space.
That's all the time we have for today. Join us next time for another deep dive into the latest market news and earnings.